By the end of this video, you will create this beautiful, insightful, and interactive Power BI business report. Welcome to Introduction to Power BI video. In this video, you will learn how to get Power BI desktop software, how to load data into it, how to use it to make visuals and tables, how to format the visuals, how to create a complete business report with it, and finally, how to share that report with others in your organization. Let's go. My name is Chandoo and I have been teaching Power BI to people for the last 6+ years. This video is part of my free data analyst course playlist on YouTube. If you are new here, feel free to subscribe and watch rest of the videos of this playlist after completing this video. Let's start from the scratch. How do we get Power BI on your computer? Simply go to the Power BI website. I have got a link for this in the video description and click on Products Power BI Desktop. The Power BI Desktop is a free application that you can install on any Windows computer and use it to build insightful reports from your data. You can download the application by using this link here. I already have this application on my computer, so let me open that quickly. When you open the Power BI desktop for the very first time, you might get a welcome screen, but after you close all of them, you will end up in a backstage area like this. From here, you can select to create either a blank report or start your journey from an Excel workbook or a database that is available in SQL Server or somewhere else. For the purpose of our learning today, I have prepared a sample dataset for you, which is available as an Excel workbook. So let's go ahead and bring the data here. I'm going to tap on this Excel workbook button and point to the sample chocolate sales data 1 file. You can find a link to download this file in the video description below as well. When you open the file, Power BI is going to show you a preview of that file in this navigator screen. Here you can see that that file has one worksheet called data. Make sure that you're seeing all the columns. The columns would be salesperson, product, country, etc. And this is a fictional chocolate company called Awesome Chocolates that I use in many of my videos. And here is a sample shipment of chocolate data for the year of 2023 and year of 2024 up to September. Once you see the preview of data, just click on this checkbox here to load this data into Power BI. So once you select the data, you will see that the load button lights up and I'm going to straight away load this. Later on in other parts of this playlist, I will explain what the transform data button does and how to use it to clean up the data or add extra columns if you need it. Now that you have some data in Power BI, let's quickly understand what Power BI really is. Power BI is a data analysis and business intelligence platform. We can use Power BI to load up any data, analyze it, create reports, dashboards, or insights from it, and then share it with the rest of the audience in your organization or outside the organization. Let me quickly explain what are various things that we see on the screen in front of you. Power BI screen is broken into 4 main areas. We have got a ribbon up top, and then you have got this big white area here. This is what I call as canvas. And then you have got some panels to the right hand side. We use these panels to construct things. And then there is also a small left hand side panel that is used to switch between different types of views in the Power BI. The ribbon here, let's call this as number 1, is used to access various features or key aspects of Power BI. So we could use the ribbon to, for example, load up data. Right now we loaded an Excel file here, but if you want to bring data from another Excel file, you could, for example, tap on this button and bring in that data as well. Likewise, you could also use the ribbon to clean up the data using this transform data button or refresh the data if your files have changed using that refresh button. There are many other buttons here which we will get into later as we go and build stuff. There are other ribbons here, like you have got insert ribbon, modeling ribbon, etc., that we may go from time to time to do different things with our data. Again, most of this would make sense as we go and start creating something from our data. The main area of Power BI is this white area here. This is what we call canvas. And let's number this as 2. And in this canvas, we are going to place all our charts, information, text boxes, tables, and images, and anything else. Think of this like a PowerPoint slide that you're constructing, but with your data. The third area is these panels, and there are many different panels that will come and go during your usage of Power BI. Right now, for example, I have got the build panel and the data panel. Data panel shows me all my data files that I have loaded. Right now I have loaded one file which is just named data, and you can see that it has this little expand button. If I expand this out, I'll see all the individual fields or columns of that table here. The build panel is used to build visuals. So for example, if you want to add a column chart, you would simply select this column chart and then make a column chart here by drawing a box like that. The fourth area is this little switching panel here. We use this to switch between different views. So the default view is this canvas view, but let's just say as you're building something, you want to double check the data. You can use this table button to switch to the table view and look at the underlying data. Likewise, there are other buttons that can be used to do some other stuff. Again, most of this you will eventually learn as you understand Power BI more. Let's conclude this segment with one extra note, which is the pages aspect here. Right now, we just have one page. So think of this Power BI report as a single page report. But many times in business situations, you may want to create multiple page reports, and you can use this plus button here to add more pages. All right, enough introduction. Let's go ahead and actually look at the data and make a graph so that we can understand how to create things with Power BI and how the whole thing feels and how to use it for doing some business stuff. Let me expand this data here. You can see that we have got these columns. This is one way of looking at the data, but this way of looking at the data is kind of tricky when you're getting started. So let me show you the actual data. For that, I'm going to switch to table view from the report view. As you have seen it in the preview area, we have got different columns about the chocolate shipments. For example, if I were to just explain one single row of this is just one particular shipment of chocolates. In this instance, Brian Boyce, one of our salespersons, shipped 861 boxes of orange choco to the country of UK. We have a customer there on this date, 3rd of January 2023. And this is the amount of money we made from that transaction, $6,882. And the order status is marked as delivered. So this data goes on each row containing one shipment, and we have got about 5,000 shipments here. Now let's go back to the report view. Let's say, given all of this information, you want to understand how many boxes we are shipping to each of the countries. We operate in 6 countries. And to see that kind of information, a column chart would be a good idea. So you can just tap on the column chart. If you just tap on it once, it will automatically add a default sized column chart here. But this is just like a box. You can click and drag it anywhere. You can also resize it. Let's say you want that big of a column chart, you can resize it. Within a column chart, we want to see one column per each country. So on the x-axis here, I want to see the countries, and on the y-axis, I want to see the number of boxes. So here in the build area, once you have dragged a box and put it and selected it, you'll see that you have got x-axis and y-axis options. You can just add the items there. You can either tap on these buttons or you can select items and drag and drop it. I like to select and drag because that's more fun. So let me drag country into x-axis and boxes into y-axis. As boxes is a number, it should automatically sum it up. But for whatever reason you're not seeing sum, you can click on this little arrow here and then make sure that the summarization is set to sum. So there you go. You can see how many boxes we ship to various countries. For example, UK is our best selling country with almost 500,000 or more than 500,000 boxes of chocolates going there. Let's say you like this chart, but you don't like this blue color. You can quickly format this by selecting this and enabling the format panel. Remember the panels that I talked about? So when you click on the format, it will appear here. And from here, you can format various things. In newer versions of Power BI, we can also directly format things right here instead of going to the format panel. For that, you just have to double click on this and then you'll see that the border around it changes into a blue color rectangle, and then just select these bars, right click to see the fill color options, and from here you can change the color to whatever you want. So let's say from the blue color, I want to go to this kind of like orange color for the boxes, and when you select that, it automatically highlights them in that color. When you're done, just click away and that formatting is applied. You can do the same thing with various aspects of the chart. For example, let's say you don't want the title to say sum of boxes by country. You want it to be how many boxes we are shipping it by country. You can select the chart, again double click and just type in this area, or alternatively, while keeping this selected in the format area here, you can expand the title options, and from there just double click on the title text and type whatever you want. Needless to say, as you are setting titles or colors or whatever, you can also apply different formattings like bold text, change the text color to a different color. Most of these things are self-explanatory and kind of similar to how you would format things in PowerPoint, Excel or Tableau. So now we have got a visual here that tells me how many boxes we ship by the country. I'm gonna move this slightly to the left, and here in this space, I would like to make another graph that tells me what is happening by our salespeople. As we have got quite a few salespeople, I'm not really sure what chart would do well for that. So what I'll do is, instead of selecting something from here, I'll directly add the data and let Power BI build the chart for me. To do this, I'm gonna just select the salesperson and add it here. Then I'm gonna select the boxes again and add it here. And now I have got a table. Power BI thinks this is the right chart for it, but if you click on this little add data and build your visual button, it will show me various suggestions. And I can select a different suggestion because for this kind of data, it says you can either use a table or a bar chart. So let me select a bar chart and I want to move this bar chart here. And now let me introduce the most fun and probably the most useful aspect of Power BI. It is the ability to cross-filter things. So let's say I'm looking at this and I want to know what is happening in India. I can just click on this India column and instantly I'll see the proportion of boxes by salesperson that are being sent to India. Likewise, I can click on a specific person, for example, Brian here, and then I can see how Brian shipments are across various countries. This behavior is called interaction. And the way it works is, if you have got a few visuals on a page, right now we have got two visuals, anytime you select any one thing on one visual, the other visual automatically responds. So there is some sort of a hidden connection between these two visuals. We just can't see it, but that connection is there. Imagine you have got something else here, then the connection will also be there with that. Now let me share one extra pro trick, even though we are just getting started with Power BI. Let's say I'm seeing Brian, but I also want to see what is going on with Madeline. I can hold down Control and select Madeline, and then now I'm seeing both of their information highlighted here. I can hold Control and select other people, even if they're not together on the graph, and then I'll be able to see all of this. To go back to the way original things are, you just have to click on things again. Let's say you like this graph, but you don't want to see the sum of boxes. You want to see on average how many boxes each salesperson is doing per shipment. So we can change the calculation type from here. You can see that here it is saying sum of boxes. You can tap on this little thing and change the summarization from sum to average. And then you will be able to see who is doing more boxes per shipment and who is doing less per shipment. Try playing with some of these other things here to understand how these calculations work. Later on in the subsequent parts of this free data analyst course, I will explain how to use Power Pivot and DAX to create your own calculations so that we can go much more into the number crunching aspect of Power BI and use it to provide truly valuable insights to your stakeholders. So given this information, I just want to see our total sales as a single number. I can use this card visual. Normally I would use this card, but this is the card new. So they call it as new card visual. And I have been using this ever since that came on board. So I'm just going to tap on that. And here I'm just going to add the amount directly. If you're not seeing these new card and new slicer visuals, the one with lightning bolts, you can tap on the settings button at the bottom corner here. Alternatively, you can also go to File, Options and Settings, and then click on Options. From here, if you go to the preview features, enable these two things, new card visual and button slicer visual, so that you can use those newer visuals instead of the older versions. Keep in mind that if you add any preview features, Power BI will ask you to restart it. So it's a good idea to save your file and then restart it. Let me first show you how to save it. Just click on the save icon here and give the file a name and select the folder path here. You can just go to more options, browse from this device and save it in your computer anywhere. So now that we have got a card, if you want to see the boxes as well, you can just add it and then that will also show up as 2 million boxes. Now that we have got all the information here, I want to be able to filter this down to a specific product. For this, we can use a slicer visual. There are two kinds of slicers in Power BI, new slicer and the old one. I'm just going to use the old slicer for this aspect. And in this slicer, I'll just add our product. You'll see that all our products get listed here. Now, if I select, for example, Almond Choco, I'll see what is happening for the entire report. You can see all the numbers and graphs have updated. So right now, Almond Choco, this is what is happening. Canada is our biggest customer for Almond Choco. Again, the interactions work beautifully. If I, for example, select Denison here, I can see what is happening to Denison. I think all of Denison's Almond Choco shipments are just going to USA. You can also use the control trick with the slicer. If you want to multi-select, you can hold down control and select multiple items. And you can use this clear button to clear away and then look at everything. Now, instead of a product slicer, what if you want to slice it on the date? You'll see that when you add a slicer and then put date there, instead of showing all the possible dates, you'll get a different kind of a slicer where you can specify start date and end date in a calendar kind of a thing. Or you can also use this scrolling thing here to adjust this. So for example, if I adjust this up to February 1st, 2024, you'll see that all our graphics have updated as well as the numbers too. So depending on the type of data that we have there, if it is something like text value like product, you'll get these buttons. But if it is a number or a date value, you'll get these kind of scales where I can adjust the starting point or end point to see what is happening. So now that we have played a little bit with Power BI, let's go ahead and actually create a useful Power BI report to understand how our chocolate business is doing. Let me first quickly tell you what we will be doing. We want to understand how much money we make every month as a trend. And then we also want to see how much amount is coming by country as a donut chart. Then we want to also see what is happening at an individual salesperson level. And finally, what is happening at a product level. Apart from all these things, there are also two additional things here. One is this card up top that tells me the overall summary of the business. The second thing is there is also a date slicer here that lets me choose start and end date for our report so that I can only look at specific points of time rather than the whole thing. There is also another special thing here, which is this color coding of the graph. You can see that there is actually two colors, the yellow color and this dull color there. So any product with more than $1.5 million of sales should be in yellow color, and anything under 1.5 million should be this color. So how do we conditionally change those colors? So this is what we are going to do. This is going to be an interesting and exciting project to complete so that you build that confidence in Power BI. Let's go ahead and make this. Let's begin by adding a page. Let's start by giving this page a nice background color so that all our visuals can stand apart. To do this, open the format panel and go to canvas background. I'm going to change this to 10% darker white and make it 0% transparent. Let's start by placing a trend chart that tells me how much money we are making every month. Click on this line chart, and in this line chart, we want to add the date. You can either drag and drop, or you can just select them in these boxes that you see right next to the fields. If you just select, Power BI will try to automatically put it into the relevant field area, whether it is x-axis or y-axis. So in this case, when I select the date, it's going to put that into the x-axis. Now you'll notice that with the dates, Power BI automatically categorizes the date into these subgroups of year, quarter, month, and day. We'll talk about these in a minute, but for now, on the y-axis, I want to add the amount. Again, you can click on the amount directly, drag and drop it. Let's just click on that and you'll see that the amount gets added here. Now let's take a closer look at this line graph. I was thinking it's going to show me the trend of what is happening over the period of time, but I just have line with 2 points. One is my 2023 data value and the other one is 2024 data value. This is because anytime you have got a field like date, where the date itself has year, quarter, month, and day, Power BI builds this sort of a hierarchy. And when you have a hierarchy on the axis, you'll see that the chart will have these extra buttons up top to explore that hierarchy. So as our data has values from January 2023 up to September 2024, we have the values here grouped at the highest hierarchy of year and just showing 2023 value and 2024 value. To see the trend further down, you'll need to click on this icon. I like to call this icon as the pitchfork icon.
And I'm pretty sure Dwight has a pitchfork in his car.
You need my pitchfork?
Because it kind of looks like a pitchfork. So let's tap on that once and you'll see the trend at a quarterly level. Let's go one more time and now we are seeing the monthly trend. This is what I want to explore. For this graph, instead of just seeing the line, I want to see the line with markers, and I also want to fill this area with the color. To do that, just select the line chart, go to the format area here and enable the marker options. Now I'm going to go to the line itself and change the line color from blue to this dark black color. Next, let's go and enable the shade area option. And this color, instead of the black color itself, because usually what Power BI does is it will try to match the line color with the shade color. I'm going to uncheck this and select a color like that. You can also, while you are here, enable various things like data labels or trend lines if you want to do that. One aspect of Power BI charts that I kind of find annoying is these axis labels. Many times these axis labels are superfluous, so let's get rid of them. To do that, you can just select the chart and go to the axis options. There are 2 axes here, x-axis, and from here disable the title. Now underneath this graph here, I want to show a donut chart of how much money we are making by each country. Click on the donut here and add country and amount. Let's format this a bit. I don't like this legend here. Instead, I want to see the country name underneath directly. So select this and go to the detail labels, and from the label contents, just say all detail labels. Now let's turn off the legend and let's go to the title and center align this. Next to this here, we want to see salesperson performance as a table. We want to see the salesperson and how much money they make. Tables are a great way to explore data when you have lots of data points. Another advantage of table is many times we make a graph. For example, take this graph. This graph is showing me the trend of only the amounts. Many times I may want to know what is happening every month, not just for amounts, but how many shipments we are doing, how many boxes we are sending, what is the amount per box we are making, or other kinds of KPIs. And that sort of a thing is tricky to do with these kind of charts. Whereas with table, it's easy because you can just add any number of columns, each exploring one kind of data. So just as you have got sum of amount, you can also add sum of boxes and expand the table to see all the values. For now, let's just stick to the amount. Next, let's make this table a bit more pretty and easy on the eyes. Go to the format area here, and using the style presets, from default, I will change it to none. We are going to play more with tables and charts and line graphs and other things later on as part of this free course. But for now, let's just turn this table into a readable format. To do that, I'm going to go to the grid here and adjust the row padding option. This row padding, right now 0, if I change it to it, what it will do is it will adjust the space between the rows so that each row has a little bit more white space. Let's go with 4. Next, going to the top, in the horizontal grid line, I'm going to change the color to a slightly darker color. That looks good. Where we have the amount, I want to see the amount in thousands of dollars instead of the full amount like this. So I'm going to go to the specific column options here, and from salesperson change to sum of amount, and a display unit, I'm going to set this to thousands. Finally, let's go to the column headers here and make the column header bold and change the color to a darker color as well. You can also add a background color to the column header. Finally, instead of just leaving these numbers as they are, we could also build a small box inside that tells me how big that number is. These kind of things are called conditional formatting and very easy to do in Power BI. Just select the table, go to the build area, right click on the sum of amount and enable conditional formatting data bar. If you just click OK, you'll get the default data bar like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tone down the colors as we are going with the amount as this yellow color. Let's use the same color for this amount bar as well. So right click, conditional formatting data bar. You can also adjust the alignment of the text values inside this column. Right now they're right aligned as their numbers, but you can change them to left aligned so it's easy to read and look at that in conjunction with the bar. To do that, again select the table, go to the format, and using the specific column sum of amount, change the alignment to left hand side. And our table is now ready. Finally here, let's see what is happening to our products. For this, a bar chart would be good. You can build the chart again, but if you remember earlier on page 1, we have created a bar graph, but instead of for products, this is actually showing me what is happening at a salesperson level. So I'm going to copy this bar graph, Control C, go here and paste it, Control V. And in this, now let's change this from salesperson to the product. To do that, again, this field here, you can just delete it and use the add data button and select the product option. We also need to change these bars. They are actually average boxes, whereas what we want is total amount. So let's take this out and instead put the amount. The final step that we want to do is instead of every bar having the same color, if the amount is more than 1.5 million, I want to see it in the orange or yellow color. Otherwise, I want to see in a dull shade of black. To do this, we can apply a conditional formatting rule. Go to format and go to the bars option here. You can see that the color is always blue, but right next to it, there is a FX button. In Power BI, in various places, you will find these kind of FX buttons. This is how you can tell Power BI a rule or a condition based on which the color or the font or the size of things can be changed. You can base this on a rule, gradient, or field value. Let's start the journey with the gradient. If I select the gradient and make sure that the field also should be correct. Right now it is doing count of product. Instead, what I will do is I'll select the amount. So we are doing the gradient on sum of amount. And when you click OK, highest amount will have more blue color, lower amounts will have less blue color. Normally gradient colorings are pretty hard to read and you should use them sparingly. So instead of this, let's use a 2-color scheme, more than 1.5 million in one color, less than 1.5 million in another color. So let's go back to the FX here, and instead of gradient, I'm going to change this to a rule on sum of amount. And first up, the starting values are from 0 as a number up to 1.5 million. So you just type the number value here. Then the color would be this color. Let's add one more rule. Anything greater than or equal to 1.5 million as a number and up to the maximum value. To get maximum, you just delete the 0 there and it will become maximum. In this case, the color needs to be this bright orange color. Let's click OK and you'll get the colors here nicely. Now our first report is nearly ready. We want to add 3 more things here. Number 1 is we want to add a title. The second thing is we want to also add a card here that tells me what is our total amount and what is our total boxes. And the third thing is we also want to add a date filter here, so I can filter this report for any set of dates. Let's go one at a time. Let's start with the card. Again, you can build the card from scratch or you can copy the card that we have here. Let's build it from scratch as a good practice. And this time I'm going to use the new card visual, and in this I want to add amount and boxes. Let's start by formatting the values. You can see that these numbers are actually too big. So we'll select this, go to callout values, and instead of applying them to any individual bits, I'm going to select to all and change the font from 45 to 18 points and the font itself to Verdana. Let's make it bold. And the labels themselves, I'm going to make them 10 points. And now we can resize this and hopefully that will fit. You can also add additional bells and whistles to it. Instead of a box shape here, you can add an accent bar. For that, let's go to the cards themselves. And from here, I'm going to turn off the background and border on them. And then I'll go into the accent bar options, enable them. And let's add an accent bar of a color like this, 4 points. The next thing that we want to do is add a date slicer here. For that, I'm going to add a slicer. And in this slicer, let's add date. And let's move this here and resize this. Finally, let's add a report title here. For this, we can use the text box option. You'll find it in the home ribbon right here. In here, we'll say my first Power BI report. Let's make it nice and big. Now that everything is here, let's test it out. First up, I'm going to set this from 1 Jan 2023 up to end of April 2024. You can see that within that time period, only one product has more than 1.5 million sales. Everything else doesn't. And this is how my trend also looks. I can select a specific country like UK and then see what is happening within UK. Everything is working nicely. Now it's time to publish this report so our colleagues can also see what we have created. For that, we need to start by saving this file first. In order to share this file with your colleagues, you have two options. The first option is you can save this file and then you can email the file. You'll just find it in the folder where you have saved it. But that option has a serious limitation. The limitation is that your colleagues can see it, but they won't be able to update this report. Let's say you have got some new data, October sales information is also there. They won't be able to refresh it because when they try to refresh, it will try to locate the file on your computer and that just won't work. It gets even more complicated if you connect to a database or a cloud platform or something else. The second option, and by far the best option, is to publish the report. You'll see that in the home ribbon, we have got this nice publish button. But in order to use this, you need to have a membership to the Power BI platform. So you'll need to first sign in and you'll also need to pay Microsoft a monthly subscription to use the Power BI platform. Many organizations give Power BI online platform to their data analyst teams. So you might already have this thing, just check with your IT department. So I'm going to show you what happens and how to publish this. Now that I have signed in, when I clicked on the publish button, it will ask me where do you want to publish. I have got two workspaces. One is a demo workspace and another is my personal workspace. Think of these workspaces as folders on a shared network drive or SharePoint. I'm going to put this in my demos workspace. Let me show you how this looks online. So here is my report opened in the Edge browser. And again, it looks exactly same as how it looked on my computer. Everything is interactive. I can click on a particular product to see the trend for that. And from here, I can use this share button to share it with a colleague by just typing their email address and sending them a link. I can also share it through Teams or by embedding this into PowerPoint. Now that this is published, the next natural question that you might have is what happens when there is new data? This is really simple. All you have to do is go to the workbook where the data is maintained. So in this case, our data is coming from this Excel file here. I can open this and we can update the data here. You can either replace this with new data or you can go all the way down here and just paste the extra data underneath here. Once you finish that process, just save and close this file. Go back to Power BI desktop and here click on the refresh button that you see. What this will do is it will go to that Excel file, get the data, update the data table that you are seeing here, and then update all the graphs and reports and everything that you have created. Once that process is done, if you click on the publish again, you can just overwrite the online version with this. This concludes our first lesson of the Power BI module of my free data analyst course. I hope through this lesson you are able to gain the initial confidence and comfort level around Power BI, and I hope you are able to replicate what I'm showing you on the screen. In the subsequent lessons, we are going to talk about what happens when you have multiple tables. So far, we have only dealt with this single data table, but in many real-world business situations, you may have multiple tables, each explaining one aspect of the business. We are also going to discuss how to build custom calculations that answer specific business questions rather than just using the sums and averages that we have been working so far. Along the way, I'm going to introduce powerful concepts like Power Pivot, semantic modeling, DAX measures, Power Query, and how to build visuals and customize them to answer specific business questions. I will be uploading new videos once a week on my channel, so feel free to subscribe to stay up to date. I wish you all the best in your Power BI journey, and I hope to catch you again somewhere else. Bye-bye.